This morning I got up early and followed my wife over to set up in an open air market, to set up her booth in an open air market where she does some things there as a vendor. And we got up and we left here about 5 o'clock in the morning to get there ahead of the pack that rolls in there in big trucks and trailers, vendors that have all kinds of things, food trucks and so forth. So we go real early. She goes over ahead of me and then I follow her in my pickup truck. And what I do is when I get there, I park about 1.5 blocks away from the space where she's actually going to be set up. That while she drives on around in her van and gets in front of the space and begins to unload, I then walk over from where I am just to stay out of the way of the other vehicles and help her take everything out of the van, set up the canopy, and pull everything in under that canopy. So what I do is when I get out of my truck over where I park, I'm pretty isolated at that point. It's over by an old several old army barracks that are uninhabited right now. And when I get out of that, though, those type of markets are wonderful places for people to gather all during the morning and early afternoon. But early in the morning, it can be a spot that is very attractive for criminals too. So when I get out of my truck, I'm pretty isolated and I have to walk over with a flashlight to see where I'm going to get over to the space where she's going to be setting up. So I did this morning just what I do every day, which is part of getting dressed. I put on this holster with a Smith & Wesson Shield 45 ACP. This is one of the original versions of the first generation of the Shield in 45 ACP. It holds 7 rounds of ammo. And I carry it in this inside the waistband holster in an appendix position right in the front. And that's just part of getting dressed every day. That has often been thrown in my face by people who just hate guns in general and really don't understand them, that's out of fear, that I'm carrying a gun because I'm fearful all the time. People loudly proclaim they shouldn't have to carry a gun to feel safe. The reality is what my gun is not something that keeps me from fearing. In the times where I have to leave my house or have to leave a gun in my truck because I can't take it in with me somewhere I'm going, I don't feel fearful because I don't have the gun. On the other hand, every month I pay insurance. I pay insurance on my truck. I pay insurance. I'm paying insurance on my truck that I don't actually have to have. It's not financed. It's paid for. I don't have to have certain kinds of insurance on it, but I carry insurance on it anyway. We carry insurance on our home that could be less, but we make sure that it's comprehensively covered for the things that could come up that probably never will. Not because we're afraid, but because we want insurance just in case. A gun is just exactly that. For anybody who is not mentally unhinged, a gun is simply insurance. A gun that we carry for self-defense is for insurance. Will I likely be accosted by a criminal walking through that isolated area over there? No. Could I be? Yes. So what do I do for insurance? I carry my gun. Just like millions of other gun owners across the United States do every day. They simply get up, get dressed, and put on their gun wherever it goes on their body, in a belly band, in an undershirt that's got a pouch in it, in an inside the waistband holster, in a belt holster, in a pocket, wherever it goes, they simply put that gun on, so they'll be carrying their insurance. Again, has nothing to do with walking around scared all the time. Now, for those of us who have paid attention over the years and really trained and really practiced with our firearms, a lot of us have made sure that we are conditioned to be aware of our surroundings. When we go out in public, when we go out in some place like I was this morning, we watch our surroundings. We don't just get out thinking about something else and just off in the clouds somewhere, our mind off in the clouds somewhere. We're making sure that we're watching what's going on around us to be sure that nothing comes at us that we don't notice because we're just not paying attention. Again, not fear, just insurance. That combined with my gun, and I have, over the years, I have taken martial arts of various kinds. Is that from fear? No. It's in connection with my carrying a gun, it's important to have some type of training to where you understand and begin to and get the feel and get acclimated to violence being perpetrated on you, because a whole lot of people can develop great shooting skills only to freeze up when violence comes towards them. When they're confronted with a violent person that comes at them very fast, very hard, they suddenly freeze. And that's where a lot of failure comes in trying to use a firearm when people don't ever have a chance to get to it, or if they're trying to get to it, they're fumbling with it to the point where they don't ever have a chance to get it or use, or even gets used on them. So there are some things that go along with this, but none of them should be from fear, and most of the time it's not from fear. People who have been in law enforcement and military and have trained and done tactical training, they understand what it means to have to carry a gun, what it means to pull a gun. For those of us who haven't, who have trained for it, who have developed our tactical shooting skills, practiced with our guns, taken some martial arts on and off, maybe throughout the years, just periodically practicing martial arts to stay used to that violent confrontation. That all plays together in the simple insurance in a society that is free, at least at this point. In a free society, the trade-off is there is some danger. And in this society, that danger can be mitigated by taking advantage of what is embedded in our Constitution, protecting our right to keep and bear arms, protecting that right to defend ourselves. We have it, we can use it. I want to recommend that you use it, not because you're afraid. If you're scared to death, you need to deal with that some other way. But for insurance, it's wise to simply be ready to defend yourself with something besides your fingernails in a society that is free, but where the trade-off for that freedom is oftentimes violent people who shouldn't be out running around loose, who shouldn't be carrying a gun, who shouldn't be carrying a weapon, but sometimes they do. It's just insurance. Carrying a gun, being ready, understanding what's going on around you, a little bit of training, some practice, it's all part of living in the world as a responsible gun owner in the United States that's still a free country. Get your insurance today. Just like you insure everything else, it will only do you well.